BS.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
nice to meet you finally.
yes, you too.
I
Good
have
to chat.
not had the capability to do this for since I started, and recently I've had um, one of my Patreons, and also he's one of the channels, Streets of Tartaria. I don't know if you've probably heard of him. Yeah, well,
Gave him a shout out.
he's
Yeah.
a real avid mud flooder, and but he's really interested in helping guys like you and I, and Martin and all the rest of them help us with what we need to produce better stuff. And so he contacted me, and he's like, he was asking me some questions like, why don't you do this? Why don't you? And I'm like, because I can't. And I'd explained to him my technology was so crappy, and he's like,
Yeah.
what do you need? And now I have what I need.
Oh,
So
really? Oh,
it,
he sent it across to you.
yeah,
Oh,
so
thank you. Streets of Tartaria, way to
yes.
go.
But that's what our
Yes,
community is. That's what's so cool about our community is
it
that
is.
we all work
Same
together.
thing. I was having problems with my audio
Yeah.
on a couple of live streams, and someone sent me this, and now I have no audio problems. And it's just like, thank
It
you,
blows your
thank you so
mind.
much. You know, it's like it's a very good microphone. So
It
it's an
blows your mind
amazing
how
community.
these do it.
Yeah, I just get so much support. It's just ridiculous. It's funny. It's just like that we don't even seem to be. I mean, I think we're probably going to start soon, but we don't really have any trolls or anything. Everyone's just it's just such a good community. Everyone's in there for the same thing, for the good, to help, to
Yeah.
collaborate. You know.
Yeah. Now I get some trolls here and there, very sporadically, but I've learned that all they are is energy vampires, and basically I just take their food away. I just tell them, hey, look, I don't troll, and I stop the conversation. I end it right there, no matter what they're saying, and I just move
Mm.
forward and don't talk to them again, and they just disappear because they're trolls.
Yeah. Well,
So
if you focus on them, you make them grow. This is a thing, you know.
yeah,
Where attention goes, energy flows. But
exactly.
yeah, I'll probably get some. I don't get to read all my comments. There's just too many. But if I
Yeah.
see them, I just ignore them. Basically, I don't delete them. I just leave them and let
Yeah,
karma deal with them.
that's what I should do because I don't know. I haven't told you this, but I'm an empath,
Yep.
and so I can read when I see a troll. I know it before in
Yep.
the first thing they send. I know, but I give them a chance to try to be a better person and let them go with it, and I'll banter back and forth a little bit, but then as soon as they get assholey, they got to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I just can't be bothered to tell you the truth. Like
Well,
my
you're so much
attitude is
bigger,
like,
right?
well, if you've got a question,
Yeah.
go there's a couple of hundred videos you can watch. Why are you sitting here? Because to me, it's if they're sort of asking you to explain stuff and all this, it's kind of like, well, you're missing the point. You need to, we're putting out the info. You need to go check it yourself. If you've got an
Exactly.
actual serious question, then awesome. Please, ask it. But if you're just like being silly and you're too lazy to research or to even watch more videos, then I mean, come on.
Right.
You
I
don't deserve
don't
my attention.
my job isn't to wake you up. My job
Yeah.
isn't to teach you. My job isn't to explain the mud flood to you. Now, if you want to research with me and I can show you what I find and you enjoy that, then that's what I'm here for. That's all I
Mm.
do. I had a guy, here's an example. I had a guy the other day. He sent me comments and he was looking at an old video I did about Berlin, and he's going on and on about how Berlin was built by the people of Berlin and how there's all the technology needed to build Berlin, blah blah blah. But yes, the rest of the world is mud flooded, but Berlin is not a mud flood city. And I'm like, dude,
You're
let
missing
me get
something.
down to you here. And it's just such horseshit, It's like,
Mm.
really, dude, seriously. And we went back and forth, and finally I'm like, I know the whole time he's a troll. Finally I'm like, dude, just bye bye.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Bye,
don't. I mean,
Felicia. you know.
a lot of it could just be AI for all we know. They might not even be real people.
Yeah.
But I mean, if someone's saying that, that's just their ego, isn't it? I mean, what are they trying to say?
Oh,
I live
he
in the
was
best city,
so
in the only city that didn't
smart.
get mud flooded, so I'm special. I mean, what?
this guy had so much knowledge. He knew the official story verbatim. I mean,
Yeah.
he really knew it. He's like, I'll show you a map of every brick factory in Berlin and all around, and they were shipped in. I'm like, fine, show them to me, but that doesn't matter. They're count. I said, look, count every brick in every building, and then count every brick in every house, and then count every brick in every wall, in everything, every road,
Star
any
Fort,
star forts. I said that. I said anything that's got bricks that you
like
count the bricks
it's
and then find out where those bricks came from. Okay. And then look at the manufacturing capabilities of that manufacturing facility at that time.
at that
Then
time. Yeah.
look at the other buildings that they say that facility made bricks for and add those to the pile. And, it's like you can't do it. You
No,
can't.
it's trillions and trillions. That's something we're going to be touching on some interviews we're starting. I'm going to Coleman, Dougie, UAP.
Yeah.
They've been sort of trying to tally up how many bricks, trying to get some kind of number together, and then like do that same thing, run it past what manufacturing there was, and basically just prove it's impossible that it was done at that time period.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not
impossible.
that hard. And
It's
the other
not.
one is glass, and that's something you're into. Is I've especially in Australia,
Yeah.
um, like we have like things like the garden, like because we had God five or six world expositions down here in all the states, in all the capitals. They all had them,
Yeah.
and so massive buildings with all this glass in them, built in like 1880, 1879 sort of time period. And so, where's the glass coming from? Like,
And it was a secret art in that time too. That you didn't know how to make glass unless you were the manufacturer of the glass, and it was a very tightly held secret at that time
mm,
how to make glass.
and how to make it well was hard because when they did the
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, 1860s, I think, is that right? And the
Hmm.
capabilities of the manufacturing, because literally they were making it all by hand. And they could do, I did the calculation, and they would have had to be turning out like, over 1,000 pieces of glass a day. And, they were doing something like 20. And it's, it's just like,
You know,
well,
you just reminded me of something. When I was researching the Biltmore House in Asheville, North Carolina, you look at the manufacturing of the house excuse me, the construction of the house, and they say we built the bricks. We had our own brick firing factory. We fired all the bricks for the house, and we fired 32,000 a day.
hey.
A day. Kiss my ass.
No, well, you'd be doing well to do that, in a facility today, unless it was a big super sort of facility. I mean, that's a lot of bricks.
That's a lot of bricks.
Yeah, if what's that like? What'd you say? 3,000, 32. So that's 3,200 an hour for a 10-hour day. That's a lot.
And if you look at, I did I can't remember. Some of my, I don't, a lot of my videos don't get on YouTube, so I have a special channel on the MeWe, Beegs Off Menu, and I
Okay.
put all my stuff that's blocked on there. And I did
Okay.
a video, I believe it's on there about bricks, about the manufacturing bricks, and it's ridiculous how hard it is. Back then, I mean,
Mm.
it's like, come on, really?
It's like when you research, the pictures, the only pictures you find back, in the 1800s is literally people with these wooden, they're like little wooden boxes, and they're just packing clay into them and leaving them out in the sun. And it's
Yeah,
like, are you guys serious?
yeah.
Like, like what? I mean, you see some photos of kilns, but I haven't seen any of them working or anything or anything. You do see like
You
the
know
wrecks of
something?
them.
Maybe you can answer this, or maybe you can look into it. Something I've been wondering lately is, okay, I'm sure you know that the old bricks are not the same as the bricks we have now,
Yeah.
right? Okay, now if you take one of the old bricks that you say, yes, this brick here is an old brick, we know this, and then go, and I know that carbon dating is horseshit, but
Yeah.
what if we carbon date that brick? What would happen? Would it come back for a time period that is before when it supposedly had been built? Is
I
that
mean, you should be
possible?
able to carbon date it because it's clay and it should have organic matter in it. So,
Right.
um,
Has that been done? Is the
yeah,
question.
well, I doubt it. It would be very easy to do, wouldn't it?
That's what I'm wondering.
And the other thing that I've
I don't
thought
know.
of is you could also do a test on the chemical makeup. You could work out where it came from.
Yes, and also the mortar. Did you see? I think it was Conspiracy or Us's video on cement. Um,
Uh, yeah, the
where
Portland
he's
cement and stuff.
and the natural cement.
Yeah.
Um, that thing I think needs to be gone through more because I think there's something there in that cement.
Yeah, I started down that road with that interview with Colm Gibney. Oh, I've just got so much info.
It
It's hard to focus.
is.
Um, and he was talking about a thing called what was it called? It was Code Stone, called Code Stone, and it was basically I like a man-made cement.
Huh.
And I've got a Russian book, and I need to send it. Oh, who was it? I need to send it to someone who's in touch with. Oh, maybe it's Bernard, who's in touch with that Russian guy.
Philip,
Vlad, is it Vlad
glad
someone?
that
But yeah,
sounds
I've got this
familiar.
book. It's in Russian, but it's got all these recipes in it. How to make different natural stones, how to make things like marble, and also how to make crystals, like
Dang.
gemstones.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it looks like I can't read it. I've started actually, but I think I lost the file. I've started actually translating some of it. Um, it just takes forever to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's got all these recipes in it. So this is the thing, all this cement, because we know that old cement it gets harder. It's much better. It's different to what we use now. It gets harder the older it is.
I was about to bring that up. There's a
Mm,
video by a channel called Absolute History, and they were doing a thing where they were building an old castle in the old way, and they were
yeah.
talking about the cement, and they said the old cement took 1,000 years to harden.
Whoa.
And I was
So
like,
I mean,
what?
what are they saying about the buildings then? What?
What does that mean? I did not do any more research on that, but that right there, I think needs to be looked
I
at.
think I've seen that video. That's when they're literally got these big blocks and a few people dressed up as,
Yes,
medieval people, and
which
they're
is
like slowly putting these walls up, and it's
total
like,
BS.
you guys are
But
just actually proving that it can't be done. What are you doing?
it's like okay, if you're saying that those 1,000 years to harden, okay, if you think about it from a point of view as you're the person back in the Middle Ages, quote unquote, and you're
Mm,
building a castle and you're using cement that takes 1,000 years to harden, and then you're expecting this castle to protect your sweet ass, right?
mm.
Well, I mean, what are you
It,
doing?
it doesn't
It
make sense at all because if
doesn't
a
add up.
thousand years, that means, I mean, you would think it would still be wet by the time you died. It
Or
might take
weak or
500 years
soft.
before it starts getting,
Right?
it's like, come on.
It
That's
doesn't add up.
no. I mean, maybe he's just read half a book. Maybe he meant to say it gets harder for 1,000 years or something.
Well,
Um,
I would say that's probably right, but still 1,000 years to harden?
well, the question is, how did they get that data?
I don't know.
Who was collecting it? Who was checking out all these, mortar joints and things, and going, oh, yeah.
Some of the history is just like when that's one thing about this. Okay, let me back up. I woke up in 2008. Okay,
Yeah.
rudely. Okay, I I was a regular Joe. I drank a lot, and one night I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I had 90 channels of nothing on. If you ever
Yeah,
been there,
yeah, yeah.
and I had recorded a show to come on that because I'd watched everything, and I pushed record on a show, and it came on at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there drinking beer with my girlfriend, and this show on 2012 comes on, and I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, she's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's just watch it, whatever." So we start watching the show, and it's a documentary about 2012. This is in 2008 now. And after we got done watching it, it was a really good one. It's done by the History Channel. after we got done watching it, I was like, what the hell was that? I have never in my life heard of that ever. I don't know what they're talking about. That can't be true. And I'm asleep. I'm a little sheeple at this point. But of course, when you're at that stage, you think you know everything. I thought I was pretty smart. No, I was an idiot. So I went and researched, and 2 weeks later, I came out of the computer awake, completely awake. And
Wow.
I mean, I had an awakening in 2 weeks, and I don't mean just I woke up. I mean, I was awake to everything because I researched hard for 2 weeks straight. I mean,
Mm.
day and night. I quit drinking. I quit smoking overnight, literally.
Wow.
I mean, it shook me to the core.
Well,
So,
it's quite. I mean, yeah, I can imagine if you think everything's normal and you think that, just getting along is just getting along, and then you find out the truth,
I didn't know about
um,
any of the stuff in
that
our
would blow
world.
your head off.
I didn't even
It's
watch the news because I knew it was a joke, but I didn't,
mm,
I wasn't interested in politics or financial. Man, I am when it. I have spent the last 13 years studying this stuff. I've read over 1,000 books. I've read them 4 times each. Okay, and I don't mean junk. I mean Plato. Okay,
yeah,
the good stuff. Okay, I've
yeah,
read real books. Okay, I'm not reading Twilight here. Okay, I'm reading the real old good esoteric stuff. Okay, the good
mm.
shit, and that's what I've spent my last
But
13 years doing. So
this
I'm
is the
a
thing, yeah.
Mud Flood is actually a second language to me. I actually am well versed in all the other stuff more than I am Mud Flood.
Mm,
But when I woke up to Mud Flood a couple years ago, I realized that the Mud Flood is more important than all of them because it connects all of them
mm.
together.
And it's also in your face. You can just walk out and see it.
You can't deny it.
You can't. It's like, what are you going to tell me that that window is above the pavement? You
Yeah,
can't do that. Yeah, I agree. It's a connector. It connects everything, and
everything.
um,
Everything
yeah,
from
I totally agree. It's
spirituality
like
to
with Bernard.
politics, everything.
Mm. And with Bernard, I'm going into all this alchemy stuff now, and that all connects in, and that's all got to do with all this stuff that I was studying, yeah, 10 years ago about, free energy and, vortex
Oh yeah.
maths and all that kind of stuff, and
I knew all
Matthew
about free energy.
Paramane and
I knew all about free energy, but I didn't know anything that I didn't realize at all that we had free energy in the past. I thought
mm,
free energy was the future, which it is, but I thought I knew something in 2008 when I found out that free energy was coming. And
mm.
now I'm
I
finding
think,
out it's already gone. I'm like, "Oh man."
mm. Well, this is it puts it more in reach because when you understand we've already had it, well, that means it's doable, obviously. But when you look back into the 1800s, you realize they didn't have computers and they didn't have electronics and the kind of tech we had, but they still had free energy. They had everything they needed. They didn't have, the stress of that we had in this modern life. And yeah, they were
Right.
just sort of doing it better. And that's this
I've
big. A lot
thought
of
about
people are
that.
talking about analog and digital now.
Yeah.
And basically saying, that we need to go back to analog, and that's the big change is they're trying to make everything digital and you know up
Well,
to
if you know
silly
anything
points.
about
But
recording in analog is much better quality than the
mm,
digital. And I'm not talking about from a crystal clearness. I'm talking about it's the difference between vinyl and tape. When you have vinyl, it's grooved into something and it's physically there, and you actually the sound is physically
mm,
coming out of a
yeah,
physical object, as opposed to a tape, which is really an electronic transfer.
mm,
But it's if you go when you hear these remastered versions of records, those are where they've gone back to the original master recording tapes and re-recorded them to digital, but they're not as good. If you
no,
ever watch those videos where they're they've got the mixing console and they're sitting there running each track and they're listening to the tape. Listen to the quality of that. That is the pure stuff.
Mm,
A CD
yeah.
is crap compared to that.
Mm.
It's
And
no
this is what
good.
they do. They always sort of, promote, CDs and all this stuff as better, and it's the way of the future and all this stuff because it's more technological.
And we buy it.
But it always ends up to be just worse and worse. We're going backwards rather than forwards.
You
You
know
know, we
that
sort
you
of
you
had the
made a good
tech.
point. Talking about technology that they had back then, they had free energy. But here's something I think is that nobody's really gone down and looked at is that okay, they had free energy, and we don't know that they had TV, and we don't know that they had phones and things like this. But if you think about our technology, our flat screen monitors and our smartphones and things like this, what if there was a war? And what if they killed the and or destroyed or got rid of the people that were here, and then when they came in and took out their stuff, their furniture, their clothes, and all that stuff and burned it, what if they threw the TVs in too and the phones? They're all plastic.
Mm.
They're all. I'm not saying they used plastic, but who knows? Maybe they did. And what would happen? It would just burn up. And where would we find it? Nowhere. It'd be
Mm.
gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if it was left out in the sun, in the weather, it'd be gone in 100 years as well, wouldn't it? Plastic and
Exactly.
that just breaks down to nothing.
Yep.
Um, Whereas, I often wonder where all these motors and big machinery are. I mean, have probably just all got melted down, I guess, and turned into crap. But there must have been a lot of big machineries. Like, there's some places that have got like big like wheels for machines, like big belt wheels that are like 20, 30 foot in diameter, kind of thing,
Yeah. Have
down
you
in the
seen the new video
basements of
from
these
Jared
factories. And
Boosters?
the what?
Do you know who Jared Boosters
Yeah.
is?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Did you see his recent video talking about the third rail? About the cable lines underneath the trolley systems?
I think I might have started watching that, but I don't think no, I don't think it rings a
Uh,
bell. I think I've seen half of it. Yeah.
I would suggest checking that out because basically he was showing in his research that there was
Yeah,
in
there's a
some
pipe
cities
underneath the ground or something.
there's a third rail, and what they had was they had a piece that
Yeah.
came down from the trolley and went into the ground,
Yeah.
into the
Mm.
hole, and that originally tapped into a pulley system. And the
Yeah.
pulley system would pull it around town underneath the ground. And then they had these huge wheels that would do it. And
Yeah.
then they switched it over to a conduit system where it had a positive on one side and negative on another side. And when the trolley came through with the whatever connector, it would pass between the positive and negative, and it would transfer the energy and push it along.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That
have
was
seen
new
that.
to
Yeah.
me, man. That tripped me out.
There's so much underground that we don't know about. This is another thing that's coming out. There's
Yeah,
just tunnel systems everywhere, and
everywhere.
I mean, what were they? Who built them? What were they actually originally used for? Were they above ground originally? Are they just the remnants and the hallways of sunken buildings? This
Yeah.
is. I mean,
I
I don't know. There's just something wrong with the timeline that I can't work out. Like, because it looks like everything was destroyed, and then all this stuff with good tech was built on top. Like, the rail systems and that. That's clearly on top of other civilizations, other buildings and that. But when was that built, and who built it? Because
okay.
that was all ripped out, pretty recently.
I have a theory on some of the trolley lines. It's my thought right now. Okay, this we're forever changing here. You know this.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think that they came in and took a steam shovel and put it on the railroad lines, and then ran it into where the mud is and dug out the old trolley lines and moved the mud out and then picked up the trolley line, and then as the shovel would move forward, I think they relayed the trolley line on the new ground level. Basically they lifted the trolley lines from the original ground level to the new ground level, so it's the original stuff, it's just moved up. because I can't imagine if you. It's either that. Okay, either A, they did that. B, they laid new track, which is a lot of work and very expensive, and they'd have to have all the materials. Or I mean, C, what if it is still there? That means you could dig down and find it in the ground. And I don't think it's there. I don't think you have trolley lines on underground level
No,
now.
well, the other thing is the quality of metal that all these tracks are made of. There's tracks out in the middle of, nowhere that they're 140 years old now. A lot of them, they're fine. They
Yeah.
don't rust. They don't break down. So they look like they're made of the old world steel, which is why that's why I'm confused. But like you said, if they lifted it up, that would kind of fit that gap. That'd kind of answer
Have
that question a bit. Because
Have you heard of a channel called Dane Calloway?
yeah.
Okay, I'm following his work because his theories are meshing with my theories, and I'm trying to see how it all fits together. But one thing he talks about is Harriet Tubman. Have you heard about her?
I saw his latest video. I haven't watched it, but I did see that he put one out about there was two people, wasn't it? And he was saying that they were fake or
Yeah,
something.
that was
Was that a different one? Was it?
that
Okay.
was a different one. There's a Harriet. I don't. You might not know this, but it's a piece of American history. There's a figure named Harriet Tubman, and supposedly the story goes that she was one of the escaped slaves, and that she helped move slaves through what's called the Underground
Yeah. I
Railroad.
think yep.
And the story goes that what they did was they would move the slaves from house to house and move them out of the area to get them away from slavery. But what Dane Calloway is saying is that's horseshit. And basically, she was part of the Underground Railroad, but the Underground Railroad was an actual railroad. And it was miniaturized. And if you look at old photographs, you'll see three sets of rails. You'll see two normal size and one smaller one. And
Oh,
early
okay.
in time, there was this third set of tracks, excuse me, that would run into mountains, and it was for many railroad cars. And there's a quote by Harriet Tubman talking about how when she was a conductor on the Underground Railroad, she never lost a customer. She never ran her train off the track. Now that is interesting. She ain't talking about moving folks underneath houses.
No.
She's talking about something else.
What are they called? Customers. Like, yeah, that's what threw me is when you said customers. I'm like, what? Um,
There's more to
okay.
that.
So what are you thinking? Like that they're shipping out tech and stuff?
I'm thinking that when we found America and took over the buildings and the structures and the whatever, I think that the Underground Railroad, that there was a third track Underground Railroad that was for miniature trains. And if you look around in America, I know you find miniature trains all over the place in these
Mm.
little parks. And I
Yep.
think those trains originally were from the Underground Railroad. And I think that Underground Railroad was maybe for a people that were a smaller stature than we are, because there were giants, as you know, and there was us, as you know. But who's to say there wasn't people that were smaller?
Well, we had pygmies in Australia, and that
Yeah.
back in the 60s, and they've just disappeared. I can't find anything on them anymore. And also all the old maps, Hyperborea, there's always pygmies up there. Um, so I mean, and obviously the Congo, we've definitely got pygmies, small people.
We're told now that giants, people that are giant, let's say 8 foot tall people today, have what's called giantism, and it's a deformity.
The
And I
thyroid,
don't
yeah.
believe that's what it is. I believe it's a mixture of a giant and a person our size where they have mated, and then there is a problem in the mating. And as the genetics came in, they might have had some problems there. But
Mm.
who's to say that a dwarf or a midget, whatever you want to call. I don't know what's politically correct this week, but what if
A
a
short
dwarf
person.
is the same thing in reverse? What if there was a small person and then a human, a normal human like our size, and they mated? What if it genetically messed up, and now the people that we call dwarfs or midgets, what if their genetics are messed up, and it made them this strange size where their ligaments aren't the right size? Maybe they were maybe before we took over. Maybe there was a
Yeah, I see what you
size.
mean. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know that
yeah,
doesn't make a lot of sense.
yeah,
It's
yeah. No, so not
I'm
to
kind of
be
rambling on that one, but
impolitically correct, but
yes,
basically, if they were our proportions and smaller, and then they mate with us because we're bigger, because dwarfs have, it's called dwarfism. They have shorter limbs,
right,
and they have problems with joints and things like that. Yeah,
right. But what if it was the reverse of what we call giantism?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Dwarfism. I
Yeah.
mean, that's actually a thing. It is. So yeah, there you
So then
go.
there's the train, I mean, maybe they
Mm,
drove the train.
because there's all these stories as well of things like I mean different names, but like elves and sprites and forest spirits. These sort of fairy type people that are small, but they're in our proportion. They're not like dwarfish looking. They're just like miniature us. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it could be possible. Why
I
not?
I, I was listening to. I think it might have been. Oh gosh, it might have been Jared. Hope
Yeah.
I'll have to check. Hope I'm not shouting at the wrong person. He did a video on Frisian caps.
Yes, that was him. Yes.
That was him, yeah, yeah. And he
Yes.
was talking about, and obviously he went into the history, but we see him on Santa Claus and the Smurfs and that. But dwarfs, the seven dwarfs, and all the gnomes in your garden have all got Frisian hats. And he said that it was related to somehow to I can't remember how he related, but to mining and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
or one of the races. Oh, that's who it was. There was a race of people who wore these caps and they disappeared from history, but they were related to mining and mountains and basically sounded like the dwarves from Lord of the Rings.
Wow, there's a connection there. Sounds
Mm,
like.
I'll have to. Oh, what was the race he was talking about? I'll have to try and remember. But there's just so much information coming out now. It's hard to
It's
keep up.
overwhelming.
There's
Overwhelming.
so many connections.
I don't
Uh,
even know. Like, I get up every day and I think, okay, where in the hell should I go today and try to help people with this thing? And I look at I'm a hoarder. Okay, I have thousands of pictures, hundreds of thousands of pictures, hundreds, thousands of videos, and I'm like, what do I show people today? Because sometimes I have no idea because there's so much. It's
there is. I've been
unreal.
thinking this lately too. Is like you know like and I've done it before. Literally, I've done a video where I've just opened up a folder and I'm just going, let's look at these photos and see what's in here. Just because I've got so much stuff. But I
Yeah.
think one thing, I'm going to do a few more is back to basic kind of videos because I mean, we're getting so much information that you can imagine if someone is sort of just coming onto this topic and they're seeing, most of the videos coming out are deeper than Mudflood, if you know what I mean. We're getting into Antiquitech and old maps and all this, and is there extra land and blah blah blah. So I think yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
try and
you're
at
like
least
I
whack.
am. You don't want to explain to people what it is every day. It's like you either get it or you don't. And if you don't
Mm,
get it, go research it and come back. But
yeah,
I'm not here to wake you up to mud flood. That's not my. I can't do. Look here. I spent years and years and years trying to wake people up, and I learned that you cannot wake people up. It's impossible. Now that was a hard reality to come to because believe me, I tried everything you can imagine to wake these people up, and it's impossible. And you know what's funny is that I go back to this movie over and over and over is The Matrix
yeah.
because there's so much truth in that dang movie. There's a line in there where he says, "No one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself."
Yeah, it's true.
And that is so
Yeah, And so many people think they're awake, and you start talking to them, and you're like, and then you just realize mid sentence, oh my god,
They're
oh my
clueless.
god, they don't get it at all.
Yes.
But that's the thing. I mean, you've just got to put your energy into where it's going to work. I mean, that's why I like videos, because, like you said, you can just put out information, and you're not telling anyone to believe anything. You're just presenting information, and people can do with it what they want. You know, as
Make up
long
your
as,
own damn
if they've
mind.
got questions, as long as they do research before they start, ranting, then that's all good. Yeah.
Yes. People need to make up their own minds. They don't need to listen to me or you or anybody. I don't care
Mm,
who they are, because they need to, like, it's fine to listen, but don't believe. Don't just
no,
believe because we
exactly.
say it. Do your own research.
Mm,
We're just trying to
exactly.
help.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's about, like you say, making your own decisions. But to do that, you need different points of view.
Yes.
Don't believe what you're told. If go and watch an anti Mudblood video and see what they say, and get different things. See what the
Oh
mainstream
yeah.
story is, and then start looking at some pictures. And as you build up more information, you'll start to go, oh, and you'll start to realize what makes sense for you at least. But this is the thing. I mean, just get out there and videos should really be. It's like when I watch a video, I'm watching there and I'll hear them say something. I'm like, what? What was that? And I'm already mid video. I'm searching, trying to find. Oh, they talked about this person, and I'm looking up stuff, and
Yeah.
that's how you do it. You don't watch a video and then just go, oh, next video. You think about what they said and then look into it. If we're saying stuff, go and look into it and verify, because it could be crap. We could be.
Yes.
You got to
And I'm
make
sure
sure.
you're a lot like I am, where you don't get to watch many videos. We don't have the time,
No.
unfortunately. And I'm very picky about what I watch. Um, I even a lot of times I don't even watch them. I just put them on the audio and do
Yeah.
and listen to it. And if I hear something interesting, I click over to it, because I just don't have the time to
Mhm.
sit there and watch the video. You can't make these videos and watch the videos too. It just
No.
doesn't work. There's not
No.
enough time.
No.
But
Yeah.
I also like to hear other people's views, because I want to know what I don't know. I want to know where I'm wrong, and I want to know new things, and I want to support the community. And I try to shout out people that I feel are worth it. There's people out there that I don't
Mhm.
support, and there's people out there that I do support. And you know what? I don't, the ones I don't support, I don't say, "Hey, you're an idiot." I
Everyone
don't,
go there and leave a hate comment.
I don't do that. I don't. I have my list of people that I don't trust, that I don't believe their information is correct, but I'm not going to tell you who they are.
Mm.
But the ones that I do trust, and the ones I do think are doing a good job, I will tell you who they are, and you can do the math from there
Mm.
if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. That's the thing. We've all got to sort of stick together, and I'm
yes,
I'm always trying to, promote, new channels. But like
well, that's
then, like
how
you
I met
say,
you.
that it's hard to like watch what they're doing a lot of the time. I watch a lot of half videos, and like you sort of listen while you're doing other work, and you
Yeah,
get through, and it's like, I might switch over, find something different. And that's
that's
why
how I.
Martin's got to stop making bloody 5 hour lives, man. Bloody hell. How am I
Yeah,
supposed to listen to 5 hours?
I don't. Unbelievable. That's how I met you. I don't know if you remember this, but you did a video, and you just mentioned, for some reason, that you were doing a video coming up on glass making, and you were doing
Yeah,
some research on it. And I thought, well, dang, I've got some cool glass catalogs that he might like, and I just sent them to you.
I do remember
And
that.
I just I knew that you and I were on a collision course that somehow, some way, not necessarily then, but just I knew that I needed to help you. It was like a empathic thing, and so I just sent them to you. And if
Mm,
you looked at them, you looked at them. If you didn't, you didn't. But that's our community, is that we help
yeah.
each other behind the scenes. Most people don't realize how much we help each other.
No,
It's like
exactly. Yeah.
your
There's
your buddy
a lot of
Kalun,
talking
your
goes
buddy
on.
Calum.
Yeah, yeah.
Calum has helped me out behind the scenes in ways that people just don't understand. He is a
Mm,
stand-up guy.
he
He
is.
top
He
shelf.
is. Yep. He's a
So
wizard. He's a wizard too.
he is the dude.
He's good. Yeah. No, Callum's a man. Hi, Callum. Um, yeah, I keep telling him he needs to make more videos, but
Me too.
so busy out there helping people behind the scenes, he probably doesn't have time.
Well,
But
he
yeah,
made the
no.
backdrop you're looking at here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he made me some logo things, and he's working on other bits and pieces for me now, actually. So
Yeah. Oh,
hopefully
I
I'll have
know
some
about
news
it.
on that soon. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh
know
yeah.
about it. Haven't announced it yet. I just sort of, it should be
I
coming
got
up
the
soon.
inside man.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So, but that book as well, that you sent me, we should go through that sometime because that was all. What are they called? Prism. Um,
Prism
the
lights.
Yeah, is that what they call prism lights? The ones in the footpath.
Oh yeah,
That's what
that's
you
my
sent me.
thing.
Those books were on that, weren't they?
No. Those
Weren't
books,
they?
the ones I sent you were on actual glass making.
Oh, I'm sure I looked at them. I'll have to check it out again because
I can, if you need
that's
them, I
one
can
thing I
send them
want to
to you.
get
But
into is um we've been talking behind the scenes with a few people and because of all this that article that came out. Um, did
yeah,
you heard about that? Yeah, yeah. So we're thinking of getting like proofs together. Sort of like 100 proofs for whatever recent advanced civilization and get into things like the bricks and all that kind of stuff, and rather than just show pictures, go, well, here's some proof. And yeah, that's what I want to start doing because glass is a huge one. I think, oh, that's not a beagle.
this is
Is
Roscoe.
that a
He's my other
chihuahua?
dog, Chihuahua.
Chihuahua?
He's really in charge around here.
Oh,
Like,
looks like he's just ready for a sleep.
he was asleep. Now he's
Oh, he
hungry.
was asleep. He's just woken up, has he? Oh, I need to
Well,
get
I
another
tell you,
dog.
pavement light. There's several names for it. There's vault lighting, pavement vault lighting. Um, they are something that I found when I was doing my research, and I'll tell you the story. I was researching Seattle, Washington, and looking into the sluicing and how they disappeared the mud flood in Seattle. And I don't have you studied Seattle?
Not really, no.
Oh, I highly suggest Seattle. I found some very interesting things about Seattle. Number one, they sluiced the mud, and I don't know if you know what sluicing is.
Yeah, it's like when you turn it into mud, running mud, and run it down
Yes,
through
they
channels.
basically
Yeah.
take a fire hose and spray it at the dirt, and it turns it to mud, and then they channel it, and then they collect it, and then they ship it somewhere. And what they did was they took they went in and sluiced the mud flood, and they built out Seattle at the water,
Oh,
and they made
like
more land.
reclaimed land.
Yeah. And then you have another fact is that they had these at one point the street level was it's kind of hard to explain. They say that they didn't have the pavement lights, okay? What they had was open holes, and they dropped down in some places 12 feet. And what they did was they put ladders to go down. I'm not joking. I know it sounds crazy. Look into it's hilarious. But they had ladders to go down. But what was happening is so many people were getting hurt, falling down, drunk usually, and they came in and they put in the pavement lights. And I'm like, pavement lights? What the hell's that? So I started looking into pavement lights. And so the first thing I did was you of course you go to the official indoctrination page, the wiki, pedia, and they have a section on pavement lights. And so I'm reading about this and I'm learning about them, like, and it's basically saying that it's all over the world. And I thought, all over the world? What the hell are they talking about? And so I started researching this, and I'm looking at on YouTube, and I'm searching, and I'm finding zero, zip, zilch, nothing, no videos. Nobody in our community, nobody in another community, nobody at all has done any pavement light videos at all. And I'm like, well, that's really kind of weird. And I'm like, I can't be on to something new here. That's not because I was very new to this at the time. And I thought, well, I guess what I'll do is I'll just collect what I've found so far and I'll throw it in a video. And I called it You Might Live in a Mud Flood City If. And that's based on there's a joke in America called You Might Be a Redneck If.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where it
yeah.
came from. And so I did a video, it was like 30 minutes long, and I didn't have the capability to do audio. And so what I did was I put the wiki audio on there, and people hated it. But when I made the video, it was pretty popular. But then one night I was talking to Michelle Gibson behind the scenes, and I was saying I don't know what kind of video I want to make next. I'm just I can't get my mind focused. I've got all these ideas and I can't figure it out. And just jokingly I said, maybe I should make another pavement light video. And she said that's exactly what you should do and I want to be involved. And I said,
Oh,
well, okay. And so we collaborated on a video and so it turned into a 3-part series and I think it's like 4 hours, 3.5 hours long and on pavement lights alone I've already got enough material to do two more shows, probably 2 hours long each. And but I collected all this data and I put all this video together. The first video is short, it's like 30 minutes and it explains what pavement light is. And
mm,
the second video is kind of pictures of that I found mainly with
yeah.
some video, and then the third video is mainly videos that I found. Okay. But basically, it put me in a position where I became this pavement light guy. Okay. And I somehow became the expert on this thing. And here's the thing, I don't want to be the damn expert. I want you to be the expert. I want Martin to be the expert. I want conspiracy art. I'm waiting on y'all's video because I want to see y'all's perspective because I really believe that the pavement light is key, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're looking for the evidence of the mud flood, if where would you look? You're going to look at the building and the mud where they connect.
Mm,
What is right there? Pavement light.
pavement lights, yeah. I
So why
mean,
is the pavement light there?
did they all go in at the same time, sort of time frame?
Yes,
So what was that sort of
late
1870s, 80s?
1800s to early
Yeah,
1900s.
yeah. I mean, because that in itself proves quite a lot, because it proves that these buildings are what 12 feet underground, like, and then that's not the
Oh,
foundation. That's livable. That's and
oh.
more.
Not only do you have the basement pavement lighting that where you have on ground level pavement light and it
Oh
lights the
no,
basement,
really?
they have sub basement pavement
No
light.
way. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, maybe I'm gonna have to do a video on that. Oh my God.
Oh, here's a little thing I found. I've got video of it. I have it's set aside for my next pavement light video, but I found video of what is called a basement sprinkler system. But it's something basically what it is when the fire department comes, this is old stuff like 1800s, late 1800s. They would come and they would hook the
Plug,
hose up to
plug
what's
into it.
called the basement sprinkler system, and then it had a sprinkler that just went off underneath in the basements. And I've got video of that. And these things are really rare. It's cool.
Jeez. Okay. I mean, so that's at least a couple of levels underground too. God, I need to get in some of these buildings. That's
Okay, this is something I don't know how to do. I've been trying to do it, and I have been completely a failure at this. But I used to be into urbex, urban
oh,
exploration.
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, I've been in some old Tartarian buildings. Now this was back in the 2000ish era, and I was into that, and I went into old insane asylums and did all that back when I was asleep, but I was into doing that, and it was a lot of fun. But I have been trying to contact these Urbex guys on YouTube and trying to tell them, look, we need y'all to look in the basements. Quit looking upstairs. The evidence is in the basement that you need to be looking at. You need to go there. And I have not been able to get them to.
Yeah.
They won't do it. I don't know.
Because
I guess they're so
I
popular.
did a video on one of those a few weeks ago where they found all that old tech and the old books from the
Yeah, I saw
1200s
that
or
video.
something. But yeah, that's the thing. We do need to get onto these people because they're out there doing it. And I saw one yesterday, and there was a whole tunnel system like under this massive old castle house thing that was abandoned. And they just went down and down and ended up in this massive tunnel system.
Yes.
And it was huge, and they were just walking around, and it's just bizarre what's out there. And
This is another topic that's interesting that I'm learning about. Is what's called viaducts. Do you know what that is?
um, just yeah, ducks between two rooms. I'm guessing, yeah, like
No, no,
yeah,
no, no, no. Okay, you know what an aqueduct is?
yeah.
Okay, where they would build like a bridge looking thing and transfer the water.
Yeah.
Okay, a viaduct is what is a raised platform. Okay, that's all it is. It could
Oh,
be all kinds of different things, but a raised platform. What I have learned through my research is that um, Cleveland, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, and Cincinnati, so far I have confirmed, are viaducts. The entire city. The
right.
entire city. Yes, the entire city are raised via. What I'm saying is the buildings are there, and in order to compensate for the mud flood, they built viaducts. They built roads like bridges in between the buildings, and they raised the level of the ground through the whole city. In Atlanta, it's 4 stories high in places, and it's called viaducts.
So the viaduct is the new level, is it?
Basically, okay, imagine that on one side of a city. I'm talking about a city, not just an
Yeah.
area, not just a building, not a block. I'm talking about an entire city.
Yeah.
If on one side your ground level is, say, at sea level, and on the other side it's 40 feet higher, okay,
Mm.
they would build a road starting at 40 feet all the way across the city.
And then fill it all in.
And that would be a road. And you think it, now here's how you find it. This is how I figured it out. Go on Google Earth and start on the outside of the city limits and come in on the highways. And when you come in, look very carefully when you start getting to the downtown area, and you will see the viaducts. Go on any entrance to a city. You can do it in Atlanta, you can do it in Cleveland, you can do it in Cincinnati, and that's what I found so far and have confirmed. You can see the viaduct system. And then I have found pictures of them building the viaduct system in Atlanta and Cleveland. I have pictures.
Wow.
Yes.
So they're bridges to start with, these roads. Because I'm guessing the roads are called the viaducts because that makes sense. Like a duct is something that you move along. And
Oh, sweetie.
so is that what you're saying? They build a bridge, like basically a bridge at a certain level, then they go and fill it in, and that becomes a road.
Okay. It, I don't know. Hush. Try and talk. If your road is coming in on the outskirts of town like this,
Mm.
and you get to the city and you've got a building, okay, let's say a 25-story building, and the building is, say, 3 stories below this road, okay, they continue that road straight at that level
Mm.
all the way across the city.
Yeah.
And like in Atlanta,
Just
there's
fill it all
places where
in.
it's 4 stories deep. Four
What?
stories.
So where does all the dirt come from?
It's not dirt. It's a road. They build they a vi. Okay, imagine.
So
Okay. You can see it if you go and look at
so are you saying
pictures.
like underneath the roads it's empty?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
now I gotcha.
And here's an example if you want to see what I'm talking
What?
about. In Atlanta, Georgia, there is a place called the Underground, Underground Atlanta. And it is a place with shops and clubs, okay? If you go and look at video, matter of fact, I have it in some of my videos. I've shown this. If you look at that video or pictures of Atlanta Underground, you will see the underside of the viaduct of Atlanta. And they call this one little section, this one little block, the Atlanta Underground. But what I'm saying is the entire city is
Has
underground,
an underground.
but they call it one little area and say it's the underground. It's not. It's the whole freaking city.
God, so are they? So are they
That's
still using
mind
that?
blowing.
You reckon?
Huh?
Like, what's going on down there?
I have no idea. I know that some of it is used for parking decks and some of it is used for like maintenance and things like that. And I know that there are entrances to it. I have seen the evidence. Some of it is used for subways,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? But it is viaducts, and I do not I have found these three cities by accident. Okay. So what else is out there? I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Wow.
I think there's more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, God, that's yeah. Jeez, that puts a different perspective on it, doesn't it? Like,
And I
wow.
have put this in my videos, except for Cincinnati, because I just learned about this the other day. But I have in Cleveland, Ohio, I put the evidence of this in my Cleveland video, but nobody caught it. And
I'll
I,
have to
I
go
I have
rewatch
not
it.
done a video on Atlanta because I it's so big I haven't figured out how to approach it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, yeah, if anyone out there's got an underground in their city, um, go and check it out with a camera. That's just.
Mind
And so
boggling.
this is the other question. Clearly a lot of construction's gone on after. I mean, the cataclysm. What are we talking? 1,000 years ago, probably. It's got to be before the age of rediscovery, right? So then they rediscover, 16, 1700s. But then there seems to be all this infrastructure, all the cobbled roads, all the, train tracks, a lot of buildings. It's who did all that? Who, like viaducts and that. Imagine, on the bridge. Imagine the amount of work that would go into that.
We did the viaducts. I think. I
Yeah, well, this
think
is what I'm. Yeah, but
I if you look in the official history of Atlanta, Georgia, they will tell you they built the viaducts. They will show
mm,
you pictures of the viaducts being built. Not a lot, but there are some. And I have actually seen pictures in others. I think I've seen it in New York. I think I've seen it in other cities, but I haven't done the research, so I can't just
mm.
say yes. I know absolutely 100%. But
But
there is
that
some weird stuff going on in New York. New York is
New York. That
it's a whole
place
nother
has
level.
been completely changed. I mean, that was a different place 100 years ago. That
Yeah.
was had star forts, or still got star forts, hasn't it, all throughout the harbour?
Another phenomena, and I don't know what you think here. One thing I feel, and I have no proof for this. This is just my thoughts. Okay, this is a fluid thing, but I feel that in 1945 that they changed the Matrix. That's the best way I can say it.
I was just gonna like this is the thing. If we built the viaducts and it's looking like we probably did. I haven't looked into them, but we probably did a lot of construction around. I mean, I don't know. What are we talking? 1850s to kind of 1880s, 1900. Seems like there was a lot going on, but when we look into it, the populations don't look big enough. The industry doesn't look big enough. So is that just because it's just all BS and like we actually there was a much bigger population? And because the more we get into this, it looks like the past is getting closer and closer. Like these reset points are getting closer and closer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, so even what we know about the 1880s could be completely wrong. It's like
Yes.
the maps, the maps with the Capricorn tropics of Capricorn and Cancer. They're not from this age. They're not even from the last age of Pisces. They're from the age of Taurus, I think, like
Yeah.
4,000 years ago. So I just often wonder, is all this stuff actually 2,000 years old, 4,000 years old? All these pictures and photos, did they just find them and just go,
I,
oh, well, let's chuck this out as history?
I absolutely believe that some of the pictures, not all, but a good portion of the pictures that we find are actually old world pictures that were
Mm,
found. And then
that,
they used them.
and, probably touched them up a bit or cropped them off or whatever. And
I've had darkroom experience, and I'm telling you, you can do Photoshop in a darkroom. It's real easy.
mm,
It's very simple. Basically, all you do is cut it out and then put it over the other negative and then take another picture in the darkroom and you photoshopped. Now that's a lot of work, but it's so easy. I learned that doing graphic arts. I mean,
mm,
it's very simple stuff. That's how they
yeah,
did Oswald when you got Oswald with the gun in the newspaper in the famous uh, Oswald Lee Harvey Oswald photo.
yep,
That
yep.
is a photoshopped image of him holding a gun, and that's how they did it.
That's how they did
And
it.
they show this in the movie JFK. But that movie there's a lot of truth in that movie. It's
I
not
haven't
fully
seen that.
true. Oh, you never seen? Oh, yeah,
That's Kevin Costner, yeah, yeah,
yeah. That is a really good movie.
yeah, right.
I
I have to
that's
check
see
it
that's
out.
a topic that I don't talk about this stuff. I don't talk about conspiracy theories and things because nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. They shot JFK in broad daylight. Nobody cares. They dropped two towers right in the middle of downtown New York
Three.
in broad daylight, and nobody cares.
Yep.
They don't care. And
No,
it's all this stuff is easy to prove, but nobody cares. So I don't talk about it anymore. I spent years trying to wake people up to this, but nobody cares. They got away with it. I'm over it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to move forward and work on something that actually can make a difference with because I tell you what, nobody cares about the other stuff.
no, no. And
They don't.
ultimately, that'll all come out anyway. We've just got to wake people up. And so we've got to find the best way to do that. And I think this is a good topic. It's like
Yeah.
star forts, if you want to get someone to look at something and wake them up a bit, show them star forts. Blows
Oh yeah.
people's minds, man. I remember the first time I saw a star fort and I was just like, what? What? These things exist? Why was I never told about these? And
I've
then I
been to
realized
Star
that they were
Forts.
everywhere.
I've been to Star Forts, and I still don't like. I I remember looking at them like this doesn't make any sense, and that was when I was a little boy. I'm like, why? This none of this makes any sense.
No, they just, yeah. And this is so, I mean, yeah, star forts, that's the other thing, look to be from a older time than all the red brick inside of them. That looks, if, it looks like the stars were built and used as something, and then later on, the red bricks came in and they were turned into, I don't know, it's just,
I don't know. I don't think my thinking right now is the Star Forts are older than the last reset.
yeah,
Now, how
definitely.
much older, I don't know. I also think that you could that I'm kind of trying to piece this whole thing together in my mind. My thought right now is that Tartaria was in the actual country of Tartaria was where we think it is over, Upper Siberia, that area. And
Yep.
that if you look on satellites and look down on Google Earth, you can see all the bombing runs. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can see the same thing in North Carolina, what are called Carolina Bays. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And there's a video I saw where a guy did some research about how the the spray pattern is about the explosions, how they all go in a
Oh,
certain
okay.
pattern,
Yep, yep.
and they actually determined which direction the bombing runs came from. And I thought
Ah,
that was interesting. That was in America. But my
yeah.
thought was that they went in. There was a war at some point, and they went into Tartaria and they blew the shit out of it. And the what was left of the Tartarians migrated to the west and to the south, and then some of them crossed the land bridge in Alaska and came down through North America. And they mingled with some people that were here at that time. Okay, that's another story. But then I think the ones that went west and south towards Europe and Russia and wherever else, uh, Africa, wherever, that they eventually migrated in those areas. But then they were also pushed out and pushed towards. They were probably taken out at that point in those areas also. And then I think there was another war, which I think was more recent in North America, where they took them out here. But and it's just kind of a loose interpretation of what I think's going on. Now this is a theory I'm also working on. Um, this is just my thinking. Like I said, it's all fluid. I'm spitballing. Okay. Okay. This is the best I can do right now, but spitballing can get you somewhere sometimes. Do you know I'm not going to say this right. There's a story about a guy named Mansa Masu, uh, an African king. He was the wealthiest man in history.
Rings a bell, yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying the name right. Okay, basically,
Yeah.
long story short, you've even seen pictures on maps of this guy. I know you have because I know the maps you would look at. He was the richest man in history. This is known. I mean,
Yeah.
way richer than anybody.
And he was a
But
black dude, wasn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
and he is okay. His story is interesting, but his story is not what I find interesting. His the person that he took over for, his name slipping my mind. The guy that he took reign over from, this is his story, and this is the guy you need to look into. He ran the country, and he believed that he could find the end of the earth. And so he had 200 ships built, and he sent them east towards America and South America, towards the east. He wanted them to find the end of the Atlantic Ocean. After several years, one ship came back and he said they were all swallowed up in a whirlpool. The king did not believe them. He said, build me, I think it was 2,000 ships. 2,000 ships. And he built the ships. Now here's the interesting point. He got on the ships, loaded all his people up, sailed east, and was never seen again.
From Africa.
And then the guy that's the richest man in history took over his reign after he took off, and that's how he got all his money.
What time period was this?
You'll have to look into this, but here I'm gonna give you kind of my thoughts from there. I think that guy went to and landed somewhere in the Mexico area.
Okay.
Okay, I think that they are the Olmecs. And I think that they migrated to the north through Mexico and into North America. And when they got there, they mingled with the Tartarians that came from the north. And those people became the people that were here when we arrived to take over. Now, here's the thing. If you look at Dane Calloway's research, this is another reason I'm looking at his research. He says that the slaves, that there was no slave trade. That
Well,
it's a made-up story.
If you look at the ships, it doesn't work. Yeah,
doesn't work. Now, I think what happened is that the people we know as the original slaves, that they were prisoners of war, and they were given the ability to be indentured servants, and they were under contract because when they were freed, they were released as what was called freed men. They were indentured servants and then became freed men because they had worked their contract. Okay, but I believe that those men, those original slaves, I believe that they are the remnants of the Olmec and the Tartarians. Now, this is just my theory at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, the whole America, it's such a can of worms. Um, Especially to talk about it, at this point in history,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there was also a slave trade in the 1500s from the Philippines and India to the Americas. So,
right,
so,
right.
so did you know? Yeah. So, apparently, yeah, thousands and thousands of
I
yeah,
think now I'm not going to say this right. This is a Dane Calloway thing, but he believes that the whole slave trade where they went up and they came through England. I don't remember how it all worked out, but basically it was a front that they acted like they did it, that they didn't actually do it. It was all a show because they were trying to cover up the fact of what they had done, that they were POWs. And I don't think that I don't think that any of these original, I need to be clear, the original slaves, because then they had children. Okay. I don't
yeah.
think the original slaves were from Africa. I think, well, no, I don't
No,
think they were
no,
from
neither do I.
Africa at that time. I think they were from here, but originally back from Africa on the trace that I just gave you.
Yeah, but did you know there was a big migration as well of um, black people from America to Africa in the 1800s?
Yes, I think that was part of it also. I think that they sent
Mm.
them over there to try to cover up what they had done also. I think that was part of it. Dane Calloway goes into that.
Yeah, I'll
That
have to
guy's
watch
onto
more.
it.
Yeah, he is a good researcher. He's
Although I have
good on the
tried to
topic.
contact
Yeah.
him about mud flood and I can't get him to, he will not respond.
Won't respond. Come on,
Ah,
Dane. Yeah, I mean that thing, and the whole population movement is such a big thing. It's like, did you see that book that Martin showed like probably a couple of years ago? And I've seen heaps of them myself with white people all throughout Africa. So white people. And then so this is the thing, they change things around, and then they get black people to move from America to Africa, and then they promote them and go, oh no, this was always black people. And I think they just change, the cultures around and the colours. Because I mean, with Australia, I'm supposed to come from convicts from England, but I, don't- you know, I'm sort of thinking white people might have already been here, and I might be from there because you look into the whole convict story, and that doesn't make a lot of sense.
no.
I mean, what really gets me as well is the horses. You know, how do you get horses here? That the horses definitely had to have been here. There's no way they brought them on ships, little tiny ships that took 9 months to get here. There's no way.
Oh.
That's ridiculous. So, we've just been lied to so much. Who knows where we're off? This is the thing. I think every reset as part of, the reset, they just move all the populations around. Wipe away the heritage and tradition so they can reteach new ones.
Makes me think of ghost cities
Yeah, in China,
in Africa.
there's ghost cities in Africa too.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Big empty cities. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. China has them all over the place, but they've got them in
China's
Africa
got.
too.
Mm. I mean, and this is the scary thing with everything that's happening now. What are they actually built for? Is that, track
Have you
and
seen the
trace?
city of what is it, Anastana? The the elites news world government city,
Is that in uh,
Kazakhstan or something,
yeah, or Uzbekistan or something like that?
something
Yeah,
weird like yeah.
yeah,
Have
yeah,
you seen that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it looks
There's
brand
nobody
new.
there.
Yeah, no one there. It looks like a brand new, full-scale Tartarian city.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's got everything. It's even got, hasn't it got a massive Ferris wheel, indoor Ferris wheel or something? And
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
yeah, I think so.
Got
Which
a big
look,
pyramid.
yeah, they got pyramids, got all the statues, the street lights everywhere, just ridiculous. Um, and it all looks like free energy.
They got some weird things going on there. Have you looked into this is a piece of research that I'm following very closely because I find it very important and very interesting is the history of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
I've looked into it a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you in a rabbit hole here. Okay, I have done some research on this, and I think that this is pretty cool. Okay, you know the temple. Where's the Temple Mount?
Jerusalem.
Okay, picture it in your mind.
Yep. I'm just seeing the dome and the Wailing Wall and stuff.
Okay, and picture the actual mount that is sitting
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the stonework. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. The Temple Mount is not the Temple Mount. Okay,
Yeah.
that is actually what is called Fort Antonia.
Okay.
Fort Antonia was the Roman fort in that time.
Oh.
Okay. What they call Fort Antonia today is the top northwest corner of the Temple Mount. Okay. But if you do the math of 2,000 soldiers plus all the support staff, which could be many thousands, the cooks and the wives and the children and the whatever, the horse guys, whatever. Okay. You cannot get them to fit in that building in any way, shape, or form. It's impossible. Okay. But if you measure out the Temple Mount, it's the exact size of a standard Roman fort of the time.
There you go. So
But that's not what's interesting.
where's the Temple Mount? Yeah.
I'll tell you. It's in the city of David, 1,000 feet below the Temple Mount. They
What?
have found the city of David there. If you go just south of the Temple Mount, they have found the city of David. Okay. And in the middle of this place, there is what's called the Gihon Spring. And the Gihon Spring was written about by Josephus, and he said in his time that thing would shoot 450 feet in the air several times a day. It was a pressure valve system.
Like a geyser thing. Yeah.
And in Jewish, in the Jewish tradition, when you went to the temple, you had to cleanse your whole body. Okay, so they had to go into I think it's called a mitzvah. It's a bath. Okay, they had to wash their ass. Okay, they had to be clean. Seriously, this is like law. Okay, you have to be clean before you can go into the holiest of holies. And I mean clean. Okay, but if you look at the Temple Mount, there is no spring. There's wells that they have dug, but there is no spring. There is no fresh water. It has to be pure fresh water. The only pure fresh water in the entire area comes from the Gihon Spring, and that is in the city of David, right below the Temple Mount. Okay? Now, here's what's really interesting. When the Romans came in 70 AD and destroyed the temple for the second time, in the Bible, you'll remember that it said it tore it down, the foundation and all. Every last stone was taken down. Now, think about that for a second. If they tore down every last stone down to the foundation and all, every stone was destroyed, what is the Temple Mount today?
Yeah.
It's still there,
Built it.
right?
Yeah, right.
And then if you look into the history, you'll find that they told the Jews to leave. And for, I believe, 1,000 years, the Jews didn't come back. Okay. They did not come back to Jerusalem. Okay. In the meantime, the Christians come in. Okay. The Muslims come in. They claim it for Muhammad. Okay. And they say, oh, Muhammad, he jumped off of here, off a rock. Okay. That's bullshit too. But they believe this. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Let them believe it. Doesn't matter. They claim that rock. Fine. I have no problem with that. if they want to believe that horse shit, that's their problem. But the Christians came in and attacked, and they fought and they took it over. Okay, and they wanted the Temple Mount back. Okay, well they're looking around, they're saying, well that looks like the Temple Mount. They looked at Fort Antonia, the mount that we see today. They say that has to be it. We're claiming that is the Temple Mount. The Christians claimed it to be the Temple Mount. When the Jews came back, when they finally came back, they didn't know where the Temple Mount was because they had not been there in so long. The Christians didn't know when they came because, well, they were Christians, okay, and they didn't know either. So when they came back, nobody knew where the Temple Mount was. They see this mount and they say, that's the Temple Mount. That's how the Temple Mount became the Temple Mount. It has nothing to do with truth.
No.
Then Mount
it's just
Zion,
the only temple on a mound that was there.
Mount Zion was destroyed, and you could find the remnants of that there also. But basically what I'm telling you is that the Temple Mount is not the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is right below it.
So, but it's obviously not there anymore, right? It's destroyed.
No, it's destroyed. But
the remnants of it are there.
They are finding the evidence of the city of David in this area. I'm telling you, they're doing excavations right now.
And that's David, as in David and Goliath, yeah. Who became King David? Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, another thing is this is another kind of add another twist to this. If you read the works of Zechariah Ascension, the 12th planet and that series, you'll know that the Anunnaki had a spaceport, and the landing pad was Lebanon. Okay, the Temple of Baalbek.
Yep.
That was their landing pad. Okay. They say that the control towers were in Jerusalem, and that was on the Temple Mount. So that's just putting another, that's throwing another nut in the pile.
So was the temple originally a star fort, do we know? Or was it like a cathedral temple?
I think it was
it was a square, wasn't it? Because it gives you the actual, like a rectangle, sorry. It gives you the dimensions.
Exactly. And I don't know if you know this, but the Jewish people have already in place staged right nearby a construction site that has every single piece of construction material to build a third temple ready to go. So if they took over the Temple Mount tomorrow, they could start building the next day.
And that's the prophecy, isn't it?
Yes.
When the temple is rebuilt.
Yes.
So I heard something about this, oh God, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Year ago, I don't know. But they were talking about, that there's all these, deep, dark, sort of deep state figures that want to rebuild the temple and want to. Do you remember when that UFO thing landed on what they call the Temple Mount a few years ago? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it just went straight up into the sky?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So is that the Anunnaki? Because this is the thing, like we get all these things about planets and everyone's like, well, planets don't exist and that. And, I tend to agree as far as physical things. But I often wonder if when they talk about Mars, they're actually talking about more land. There's literally a land out there called Mars, and that's where they're going. That's why they can't show us any pictures or anything, because that's somewhat different than what we're told. And so as far as Anunnaki and, aliens and that,
I am still undecided as to what the hell's going on there. I'm having a real trouble with that thought because I don't have the right answers yet. But I do think that the Sumerian text, I believe that they have a lot of the answers. And I do think that the Anunnaki were here. And also in the Bible, I'm sure you know that Anunnaki is the Nephilim. That is a translation of
Anunnaki. Well, they're called the sons of Anak in the Bible.
Yeah, but they changed the name in the Bible to Nephilim.
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
is the
yeah.
Anunnaki. I mean,
Mm,
you can just replace the words; they're interchangeable. It's the same group. But
mm.
I think that okay, if you read the works of Zachariah Sitchin, you'll see that they genetically modified us humans to be slaves to to mine the gold, and that's how we got our size and our, they cut off the DNA and things like this. I believe that that is pretty close to probably what happened. I
It,
think that's
it
very possible.
it seems to be like Martin shows the homunculi a lot. Um, the small people. Have you seen that in jars and the giants? And we told
Yeah,
the Anunnaki were giants, and I mean that looks like a genetic experiment. That's what the Bible says as well. We're made from the dust of the earth and all this, or from even there's two stories in the Bible. Who knows? Um, but this is the thing. The more we get into, and then this whole thing with genetics, if it's true, we don't really know, but they say that we've got a fused chromosome, which is how does that happen? It doesn't happen in nature.
no.
And we've
You know,
got less chromosomes than the apes that we're supposed to have evolved from. So,
in the Sumerian text, they called the original genetic experiments Adam and Eve. That they were. It was not exactly that wording. It was spelled a little bit differently, but it was Adam and Eve.
Atum, yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Atum, but
something.
which
Yeah,
means,
exactly.
yeah, one the first or something. There's just, yeah, I agree. I forgot what I was going to say now, but it's just it's a big rabbit hole, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's huge, but keeps me out of trouble at least, I guess. Keeps me away from the TV. It's got to be a good thing.
definitely, definitely. I love this. I've done a lot in my life, but there's more meaning in this than anything I've ever done. I mean,
Mm,
this is really, okay. I got an email from or a chat message or something from a lady who was thanking me because one of my videos got her 16-year-old daughter interested in Mudblood because of the way I do my videos where I play modern music.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what hooked her. And then today she emailed me again and said that she had one of my videos playing and some of her friends were watching the video and it got them hooked. And she says what you're doing is working.
Mm. Well,
And
I
man, that
remember
felt
like
good.
back in the day when you used to go into a pub, they used to have music playing and they'd have, you know, visuals like, but it'd be like, people surfing or doing all this kind of stuff. So it's the same concept. We just need to have old buildings there and show people the pictures of the past.
When I was younger, I was a production, audio video production technician,
Yeah.
and I traveled around the United States for 2 years, and I stayed constantly on the road, and I did audio, video, and lighting. Okay, and I did concerts and corporate events. I did music videos. I did all that jazz, and in the process of that, one thing I would do is at the end of the shows, if I was in control of the audio and video, like the mixers and the screens and stuff, I would put on what's called the Mind's Eye video. I don't know if you remember that. It was the original. It was a one of the original CGI videos. Basically, it was some of the CGI guys showing off what they could do, and so they
Yeah.
put together these really cool CGI videos. But at the time, this was in the 90s. The graphics that they were doing were way cool. And so I
Mm.
would show those videos up on these humongous 20-foot screens, 30-foot, 40-foot screens, and I would play modern music with it. And people loved it. I'd play it
Mm.
before the show and after the show, and it was just something I did. And I think that's partly where the idea of
Where it
some of the
came
stuff
from.
I do
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
from. That
Yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
also I was
that's
watching a documentary talking about old movies, and they were talking about how old movies were never meant to be silent. And I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. What do you mean by that? because
Oh
I've
yeah,
always
yeah,
hated
yeah.
old movies because they
Mm.
didn't have any talking or music or anything, and they said that's not how it was.
It
Back
was
then they
live.
had actors and they had music, and they would do a production to go along with the movies,
Yep,
and they would
yep.
have Foley sounds and things like this. And I thought, man, well, that's why they're so damn boring. And so then when I
Yeah.
started looking at the mud flood and stuff, it was like, well, what if I put a modern spin on an old thing? Because, you know, okay, when you hear these old film or watch these old films now, okay, let's say on YouTube, you find old film on San Francisco, right? You're watching it and they play music from the 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, period music, right? But then I thought, well, wait a minute. These buildings weren't built in that period. So what does it matter what music I play? I
Mm.
can play anything I want. So whatever I feel goes with that music. I don't care if it's Slipknot or if it's uh, Miley Cyrus. I don't care. As
Don't do
I'm
that.
not playing Miley Cyrus, but it,
No, don't do that.
it if it goes with the music, and I'm really good at music. That's something I've always been good at. If I
Mm.
feel a piece of music can go with that video,
Put it in there, yeah.
I do it.
Music's awesome. I mean, yeah, it ties people emotionally to stuff, and definitely we just got to put it out as many different ways as we can. Everyone's different. We've got to
Yeah.
reach everyone, but especially, the young people too,
Well, I
Um,
looked at what you guys were doing, and I thought, well, damn, they're doing it already. What can I do that's different from them? Because I don't want to copy you. That's
mm.
boring.
But I mean, everyone's kind of got their own, style anyway. It's just interesting to see. Like, is it the future is the past? I always get that name wrong. That
Yes,
Scottish
yes.
girl, and she goes out and records stuff and then sits down and tells you about it later. And other people do different formats, like Streets of Tatari is just out there walking around with his camera, and Martin's just always doing live. So it's yeah. So if you're out there watching and you feel like doing something, just get out and do it. Whatever feels right. Just
Jump
you
in.
know, we don't know how we got here.
Well, I mean, we're not. It's like I was chatting with Jared Boosters the other day, and he said something about how um he's not an expert on a certain subject yet. And I said, look, man, none of us are experts.
This is so new. All we're doing is throwing out concepts and throwing out ideas and seeing what the evidence matches. Basically, that's all we can do.
Yeah,
You know,
and we
it's
love the feedback, and and I'll throw these videos out, and people will send back, and they'll say, "Hey, did you see this? And did you see that?" And I'm like, "No," and I go and I look, and I'm like, "Yeah, and that's really cool. I love it."
yeah, it is. I just can't get to all of it. I get so much stuff sent to me. It's just like
Well, see,
um,
I'm lucky because I'm underground. You can't find me in a search. YouTube won't let you search me because I'm not monetized.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And that's okay because it lets see if I was monetized, I couldn't do the music I do.
No, exactly. Yeah, you get cut on. Yeah, yeah.
Every song I use is copyrighted.
Mm,
Every
yeah.
one.
That's
And
I know
sometimes
it's.
they get a little too copyrighted. They won't let me. But I,
Mm,
I don't want to monetize because it gives me the freedom to do. Because see, they say if you're monetized, they say, well, that song's copyrighted, and Coca-Cola says you can't run that because they're going to put an ad on your video, and they won't let you run your video. You have to
mm.
take it out, and I don't want that. I would rather not make any money. I'd rather YouTube have all the money. That's fine because I have done just fine without them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, we're all got to leave anyway. I've got my BitChute
Yeah,
and my Odyssey. I'm going to
yeah.
start doing live streams from Odyssey and start them on YouTube, and then cut it off. Say sorry, can't talk anymore on YouTube. Come across to Odyssey if you want to hear the rest of the show, because that's what we got to do.
I've
You
tried to
know,
upload to BitChute and I'm having this problem and I can't figure it out. It'll upload a video, it'll get to 100%, and then
won't
nothing.
won't process. Yeah,
What is that?
it's a pain in the butt because because you have to hit that finish button, don't you? Like it doesn't automatically sort of click over.
Well, when I click the finish button, it does nothing. It
Yeah,
then it's done. It says nope.
I get it all the time, and they just sit there and they just sit as process and publish, and they don't actually go live. I just redo them. I found the only thing I found that makes it better is doing it early in the, whenever there's low traffic.
Uh,
So early in the morning or late at night, if you try uploading them, they tend to go a lot quicker, and they tend to. But you've got to be there. You've also got to hit that finish button fairly, within a few minutes, I think.
I've
Because
tried
sometimes I
that.
upload them and you forget about it. It's in the background. Then you go, oh, and you click on it, and it's probably been half an hour, and then they never publish, and it's just so annoying.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm the same.
can't
So
stand it.
hopefully they'll fix it. Same with Odyssey. Odyssey's jumping a lot and freezing, but
Hmm.
there's probably 100,000 people a day opening up new accounts and trying to get all their stuff off of. Because as we go into this, like we all got kicked off early, but there's still channels that are talking, that aren't really saying anything, that are still getting cut because they might just say the wrong word, and they're suddenly like, "What? Oh God, okay." And then they have to jump across to BitChute because you know,
YouTube's going to cut their own throat. What's going to happen is they're going to have a mass cutting of channels, and then those people are going to figure out
but
what platform to go to, and that platform is going to blow up. And when that
yeah,
happens, that's when we'll jump.
as soon as one of these other channels gets advertising so that they can get revenue and really start, because that's what they need, is they need to be able to upgrade all their servers and everything, and they need revenue. um but the thing is with YouTube, what are they going to be left with? Because you've got to think of the audiences that are going to watch the videos that are left on YouTube. They're not going to be for smart people. They're not going to be There's going to be mainly kids and stupid people, and that demographic has no money. If your customers aren't have no money, they're not buying. How are you going to sell advertising?
But you got to
It's not going to
understand, these
work.
are crazy people we're dealing with. These
Yeah, I
elite,
know. Yeah, they don't get it.
they don't
They're
care.
they're insane.
They will. It's like they will give. You can sell them the rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, but it's because they just don't understand it. They literally think, well, this has worked for the last 200 years. It's got to work again, and they just keep pushing, 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 and they don't seem to see what's actually going on. We're all just going, hang on, no, see ya. And they might have all the money now, but as soon as everyone turns away and just ignores them, what do they got? They got nothing.
You know whoever designs and builds the new platform that's going to take over for YouTube. It's like MySpace and Facebook.
Yeah.
When Facebook came around, it was better, or in some way it was better, and everybody jumped ship.
Yep. Now where's MySpace?
You know.
And that'll be YouTube, and the same thing will happen to Facebook as well. It'll
Another
get
example is
superseded.
Blockbuster Video. Did y'all have
Yeah,
Blockbuster
yeah,
Video?
yeah, yeah. We had them. Yep.
You know,
Gone.
and Tower Records. You know,
Didn't have
you
them, but yeah.
okay. Well,
But we
Tower
had
Records.
all the, yeah, we used to have like all the record shops and all that kind of stuff on every corner pretty much. And there's still a couple around, but they're pretty much just full of games and like DVDs these days.
Well,
Not much
that's
music.
because of the digital downloads. People aren't buying music on CD anymore. But there
Mm.
was Tower Records. They were the biggest record company around. And when they came out when Napster came out, and they had
Ah,
all that mess go on, well, it, after that, Tower just went shoop, and they went
just
out of business.
get that.
Same thing with Blockbuster. When Netflix came out with free movies, or not free movies, but the Netflix, the
That's
platform
so
that
cheap. Yeah, yeah.
Blockbuster laughed at them. And where's Blockbuster?
It happens all the time. People just, I don't know. They think that things don't change or something. It's bizarre. But that's how it goes. Good to meet you, and we'll have to definitely have another chat. Maybe get into that glass thing a bit more, and
Sure.
these what are they called? Duck viaducts.
Viaducts. I'll
Viaducts. Yeah, yeah.
pull some stuff together to show you, and
Yeah.
next time we chat, I'll show you some things.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get some pics up and going. Cool.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go.
Alrighty, well, yeah, have a good sleep, and we'll talk soon.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. See you
See ya.
later.
Bye.